When our triplets were born, prematurely at 32 and a half weeks, because the smallest one was losing amniotic fluid, they do routine chest x-rays that check for lung development. Upon that chest x-ray for lung development, they noticed an enlarged heart on baby A, which is Justin. Baby B, which is Michael, had a moderately enlarged heart, and baby C had a normal heart. So even though we had 3 infants born at the same time through the same pregnancy, we had 3 children with 3 different types of heart issues, which kind of matched their birth weight, so we didn't know where it was coming from. We were told at birth that Justin had a symptomatic cardiomyopathy. Michael, baby B, had an asymptomatic cardiomyopathy. He wasn't showing any signs. And baby C, Gavin, was showing a healthy heart. We were discharged. We were told by the cardiologists that they can either resolve themselves, they could stay the same, or they could get worse. Michael was cleared by the cardiologist. He's healthy. He doesn't need to come back for any more testing. He's cured. Justin was followed up. He was slowly weaned off his digitalis, and somewhere around 1 year to 18 months, all of a sudden the EKGs turned upside down. Justin was the only one who was being followed. The cardiologist had never seen a cardiomyopathy improve and then get worse again. And he referred us over to the heart transplant clinic at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, where we were followed by the pediatric heart transplant clinic. And at that point, Justin was immediately admitted into the hospital. He was tested, they noticed the problem, they got him started on medication again, and they started cardiac caths. About a week later, Michael collapsed in preschool. His lip turned blue. They brought him to the local hospital. The ICU tried to stabilize him. It was only so stable that they could get him, and we had set up follow-up, the same doctor where Justin was being followed down in Miami. And before we were able to get in for our appointment, Michael collapsed again. He was admitted to the local hospital, transferred down to Miami, where they did a workup on him, and his heart was functioning at 8% at that point, and he was in the ICU. We were transferred to genetics, and the genetics department had diagnosed a Barth syndrome child within the year. So it was on their palate. Due to the low muscle tone and the cardiomyopathy, the doctor decided, the geneticist decided to test for Barth syndrome, and we had a diagnosis by the time they were 2 years old. I was told by my doctor, which was a very weird thing. You're so used to, in life, getting a diagnosis from your doctor, and your doctor getting right ahead set with a treatment plan, and this is our plan, and this is our protocol, and this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna take care of you. And the geneticist said, this is our diagnosis. You'll be receiving a phone call from the Barth Syndrome organization. And it was left at that. And I kind of felt during that limbo period that I finally have a diagnosis for what's going on, and I'm gonna have some layperson call me about where to go with this. And I really wasn't given much information about what the foundation was. I was just waiting for a phone call. It took some time to kind of figure out just exactly how big and how much of a leadership role the Barth Syndrome Foundation does take in educating the doctors, that it kind of flipped everything we know upside down about rendering treatment and maintaining the health of our boys. And we finally got to the point where our doctors are asking us for how is this followed, or how does Barth syndrome manifest itself, etc. So we find ourselves discussing what's going on with Barth syndrome with the doctors and treating them. Physicians usually know their track. They understand where they're going with certain things because they usually have backing. They have case histories. They have studies to follow on. But Barth syndrome is not in the medical books. They're not taught. And when you're not taught something, you don't have resources to go back on. And without those resources and without a history that if you have A, then do B and you'll get C, Barth Syndrome Foundation, with the studies that they're doing, are really helping show how this tiny little study group is doing, and what's working for some of these boys, what's not working, and working hand in hand with the physicians. I don't honestly know where my children would be today without the Barth Syndrome Foundation.